No problem, darling. I need some coffee.
Okay. Now I gotta go in the other studio. All right, everybody. I am sorry I am late today. Different look, different style.
And so is Lori.
And Ori's in the house. He was here before I was. He was in the house before I was. So I know everybody like, what?
I'm just gonna
Like
make
what
some
happened
coffee.
to
Very light coffee. I'm not making.
you making very light coffee? Is that what you do? I don't know. Maybe because this was going to be surreal and I advertised a little bit too much. You know what I mean?
Well, shit. The planets are gonna be coming together soon. So there's a lot of stuff that's
Yeah.
going on,
Did you
and people need to be aware that there's emotions all over the place. People are forgetting things, but it's actually normal. People are getting emotional. A lot of emotions flying all over the place. A lot of deaths. That is normal. That is common.
right?
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your PIN and press pound key.
Okay. I'm just waiting for my coffee. My coffee.
All right.
To start
I'm loving the hair.
working at strike.
She got all
Are
the
you
hair.
loving the hair?
With the hair.
5 seconds.
It's not finished yet.
3, 2,
I'm gonna put you on in a minute. Hello, everybody.
welcome to Food After Dinner. You have embarked on a journey of understanding. Your body thanks you. Your mind embraces you. And all your thoughts are trying, willing, and going into talent with stuff. Opening that portal to the next galaxy, the next universe, the next dimension. Along this trip, our captain extraordinaire is Dr. Cicely D. Angel. Allow her to guide you, introduce you, and embrace our gap with great resources from unknown to the known to what we thought to remove the illusion that you have about yourself, your surroundings, and your vortex of the matrix of which you live. Let's go and embark on this journey. Food Alchemy Network. Dr. Cicely D. Angel, pruning and proving with you along with her illustrious guests that she has presented on this luxury network of Food Alchemy Network. Without further ado, welcome to Food Alchemy Network and welcome our guests and our illustrious host, Dr. Cicely D. Angelo. Blessing.
Hello, everybody. How are you feeling today? I am so sorry for that late run out here. I was getting some things done. So we are going to talk about some things that matter about the religion and religion that excludes women.
I don't see you.
I know. Can you
Oh,
hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Miss Arlene, can you hear me? Just put a Y-E-S, Y-E-S, that if you can hear me. You just can't see me. I'm still getting things done. You're solo, but I'm doing the introductory. And we are going to talk about gay men, women in the religion, and not just one particular religion, all sorts of religion, why they are not at the top in there and recognized in the religion and our theory. So, and if you haven't figured out by now, you are with Coffee with Ori. The gentleman, the handsome gentleman you see above is Ori himself. And me, I'll be on the screen in a few minutes. So, without further ado, tell them a little bit intro about yourself, who you are, for people on BTR land that don't know who you are before we get into our subject at hand.
Who I am?
Blog Talk Radio. Yes. Who are you? Or who do you want to be known as?
I'm a human being.
What are we coloring?
I am a human being. I'm here for seasons and been here for thousands of seasons. No, actually, my name is Ori, and I was born a medium, but I was born an empath, and I was born with I was actually considered being what they call a seer. I can see a little bit more than most psychics can, most mediums. But it all depends. It's not everything, and it's not all the time. It's just whatever they want me to see. I am a Yoruba practitioner, but I'm actually a Yoruba priest, and I'm an elder. I am also a meditation teacher. I am a life coach, both for business and spiritual. I am an herbalist, so I can teach you about herbs. I teach about magic and using water and all the elements. And to sum it up in one big ball, I'm a universalist. That's it. That's the best that I can say. Give me a second. Let me just get my coffee.
Okay, well, he gets his coffee. So, because it's coffee with Ori. So we have guests in the house right now. So excuse me. So what I am going to do is entertain you for a little bit. And we're doing a scene, even though it doesn't look like we're being seen. Things are taking place and magic is happening. Y'all get to see in a little bit the magic of the beauty of myself. If you keep it like that. So,
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay, you go ahead and take over, and I am going to do what I do. So
what is it that you want to talk about today? What is it that you want me to dissect for you about whatever?
We're going to talk why I'm hold on. We're going to talk about the gays and the religion. We're on TV, smarty things. Okay. I apologize. This is just today. We're going to talk about the religion, different religions, why you feel gays and women are excluded in the top part of religion, whether it's Catholic, whether it's Yoruba, all these religions have restriction. The Mormon church, we're going to put it out there. Why are women excluded in the top position?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, if you really look at religion in a whole, it wasn't until after the collapse of the Romans that women were seen as second class. Women were considered like being like goddesses because from the beginning of time, people worshipped women idols, men idols, but mostly women. The seers were women. Women were the ones to cast spells and cast bones and do all this stuff and sacrifice animals to make sure that the wars were fought right and all that stuff. Because why? Because the woman is fertile. The woman is what creates. But they were usually older women. They didn't use younger women because the blood magic doesn't work well when you're bleeding.
Okay, that's what they believe, right?
Yeah, that's the sentiment because, okay, the reality is this: how are you going to sacrifice? You're going to give an offering to a god or to a deity, and you are bleeding. So the deity doesn't recognize what the offering is. So the offering could be you because you're bleeding.
Mm.
Think about that. I mean, it sounds kind of corny, but it actually makes sense.
Well, not to me, it don't, because
Well,
I believe that you're at your most powerful when you're bleeding. That's when you can cast a lot of
well,
well.
but if
That's
that's what you're doing, elemental magic, you
oh,
are at your most powerful. But when you're doing blood magic, you're not.
I don't know. We're gonna have to disagree to disagree.
Wiccans, there are Wiccans that do earthly magic, and then there are Wiccans that do blood magic. When they do
Mhm.
blood magic, they offer their blood as a sacrifice, so they cut themselves, right?
Right.
Except when they have their period.
Mm.
What exactly is the function of the period? Can you explain that, Dr. D?
It's cleansing out the detoxification of the body,
Okay,
and
so
also to prepare them to produce and be fertile and procreate.
okay, so basically all your eggs and all that stuff, all of that is being flushed out, all the yucky stuff.
Yes, all the eggs that are not used and
Yeah, like
and-
all like let's just say all the mucus, right? All the unused
right,
mucus,
right.
and it's being poured out. So think about this way, okay? Let's say you sacrifice, but you're bleeding. You're cleaning yourself out, so you're using tainted blood. Yes.
Okay. You might be using tainted blood, but you also prayed over them purified. I'm telling you, every answer I got an answer.
It's tainted because the blood is not purified. The blood is being removed because it's not pure. It's already tainted. So it's making room for new blood. So I agree with you that a woman is in her strongest point when she's at a cycle, but I don't agree that she's at her strongest point when she first starts her cycle.
Okay, well that's different. Okay, I'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
All right. Okay,
You can't,
we
listen.
got there.
Listen, in the Yoruba religion, the reason that you cannot, and even in Palo, the reason you cannot, when women are on their cycle and let's say the heaviness, the reason that you cannot work with them is because you're supposed to squat. See, people don't know this, but women are supposed to squat over their womb, over their prendas. They're supposed to squat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't squat if you're just starting your period because you're purifying. So what are you giving them? What are they doing? You don't need healing. Your body's already healing itself. Do you understand? It's like what you do when you do when you're cleansing the cooch with air and herbs and all that
When
stuff.
you cleaning the yoni,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be saying no bad names.
I don't know. What's not the cooch is not a bad name. I just don't know what you
I don't
do.
like it. That just sounds
Okay.
better.
When you're smoking out the vajayjay.
That's much better.
Okay. Well, whatever it is that you do, for women to help them clean out themselves. Don't roll your eyes. But they might fall on the floor. Rolling your eyes. You know me. I don't know. I just, it is what it is. But anyway.
Go on.
So that's one of the things that I've noticed, and I was taught at a very young age, but not by men, by women, that you just don't do certain things. And it had nothing to do with Santeria, it had nothing to do with Ifa, it had nothing to do with anything. Now, Ifa has its own set of rules. Okay. And although, Olodumare and Orumila and Olorum, the Trinity is beautiful. It's no different than the Trinity in the Catholic Church. It's no different than the Trinity of anything that you want to call it. But what I find is, a lot of brothers and sisters that go to Africa or they deal with babalaos that are from Africa. First of all, if you're dealing with babas that come from Africa and your shit is raggedy, everything about you is going to be raggedy. because they're not going to sit there and explain, because they don't. Half the time they're doing stuff to you, you don't even know what they're doing. And I know for a fact because I've been around African ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't take the time to observe. Okay. Now, in Africa, are there women who are babalaos?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can only tell you of one woman, only one, and she's a
Really?
white woman. She's a white woman. She is the only woman that is recognized around the world as a babalocha, the only woman. And yet she's a white woman who was orphaned, who lived in Africa, and they took her in. The village took her in and taught her. The king raised her, and he took her and he showed her and he taught her. And she is like she's supposed to be like this great prophet. I've seen her once in New York City. Amazing presence, keeps her head wrapped, and women can receive every secret that the babalaos can receive except one, Olofi. But they can receive everything else.
Why? What is Olofi for people that don't know? Explain to me
Olofi
what
is
Olofi.
God. So don't ask me, because I'm gonna tell you in a minute. That energy of receiving God reminds me of, I found Christ. Okay, where was he? Was he lost? So don't even get me started with that. So I'm still puzzled about Olofi. How are you gonna pay to receive God?
Mm.
Okay.
God is supposed to be with you at all times, right?
But okay, yes. Now I'm gonna give you a rundown of the list of things that have occurred. For many, 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 many years, women were the readers. Women were the obas. Women were the ones who divined with shells. Women always had they always had godchildren. There were men who would do the killing for them. And technically, women are not supposed to give warriors and stuff until after they stop bleeding, their menstrual cycle completely. But somewhere along the line, in the 70s, there was like a big drought in Cuba, and the babalaos didn't have anything to work. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't have anything. So a woman like Feminita Gomez, who is where the lineage I come from, and these are African women. They're descendants of the first Africans that came to Cuba, and there's a few of them. And the one who crowned her, they decided to give babalaos work, to get them involved in helping. So as time has gone on, babalaos have taken it upon themselves to basically say that they have the power and the ability to do this and to do that and to do this and to do that. That's a lack of respect, because they really don't have that authority. They've chosen to have that authority, and they tell you that they have that authority. It's just like women, like black women who are that go to Africa, whatever, and they learn and they come back and they're like priestesses and I'm a babalocha. And well, first of all, to be a babalocha, you got to study for years. It's not, you don't just get a book like Reiki and you study it for the weekend and then you become a Reiki master. No, that's one. Two, in order for you to have an amazing relationship with Orumila, you have to always walk in the light. You can't walk in darkness. Okay, and unfortunately, a lot of people that choose the path of Ifa walk in darkness. They don't walk in light. They don't. And
explain that.
Okay. What is the difference? What is the cultural difference? Tell me, what is the cultural difference that you see? The cultural difference of Ifa. What is the cultural difference? Explain it to me if you can, and what you remember, what you know of.
From what? I mean, Ifa, I just received the hand of Ifa, so
Okay.
remember that that's it.
When you crown in Africa, you crown head and feet only. You get your guardian angel and you get Elegba. Head and feet. And as time goes on, you start to receive different orishas. Okay.
Okay.
Where in your, where in the Yoruba faith, because of the slavery and because of the poverty and because of the killings and the deaths in Africa, the Caribbean took over manifesting what was left of the Yoruba faith. Every village has its own. A village of Ochun, the village of Chango, the village of Yemaya, So they were slaves caught from many villages. So being in the Caribbean, they just adapted to combine everything together. And they made one. They made it so that people can receive every orisha. Okay, instead of having to wait, you have all of them. And then what they did was they gave names to the orishas, the Catholic names, by looking at statues.
Right.
And they incorporated it. Okay, so from that point of slavery, there's always been a respect with the fact that women have always been the high priestess. Women have always been, because you cannot give birth. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why Babalaos will tell you, Babalaos tell you that Olokun comes from them, Orichaoko comes from them, the Ibejis come from them, Oba comes from them, and all these orishas that come from them, when in reality, the difference between the Babalaos and the Santeros or Yoruba priests is the fact that anything that the Babalao gives cannot birth. What we receive can birth because they're shells and stones. They can birth. They can't birth at all. At all. That's why in the ceremony, when there's a ceremony of Ifa to receive Kofa or Mano de Orula, there has to be at least 4 Babalaos present. The ceremony has to last 3 days. And everything that is washed and created, everything is being born. Do you understand? It's like a self-manifestation. Yeah. Not being born from someone else's stuff. It's being born, period. It's made. So it's being born. Right. The spirit is ingested by prayer and songs and stuff like that. Whereas our stuff is born from another. And it's passed on. Do you follow me so far? Okay. Now, what I don't understand, I do understand that it is pure ignorance and pure stupidity, is the fact that, there's a lot of people that say, oh no, because Africans don't like gay people. Well, gay people have existed since the beginning of time. Since the time that Moses' grandson penetrated Moses. It has been around.
Really? You said, okay.
In the book of Enoch, it shows, there's a story in there where they say that Moses' grandson raped them. And that is the real reason why they couldn't get to, not Moses, I'm sorry, Noah. And that is the reason that Noah's family didn't really reach where they were supposed to really reach either. Yeah, because it talks about that. But that's in the book of Enoch. That's the book of Enoch that was taken out of the Bible. So that's why I tell you, when people say, well, the Bible contradicts itself, most people are saying it because other people have said it. Not because they've read the damn Bible. They haven't read it. They're just repeating what other people have said. Whereas in the book of Enoch, it explains things. So if you look at the Bible and you see that it goes from one end to the other, you can get it, you can explain it. And then all of a sudden towards the middle, everything seems to change and then shift and change and shift, it's because those are the books, the 28 books that are missing. They're from different parts. So if you add them all together, they coincide. The only Bible that really made sense and really talked about things that made sense was the one that was translated from Hebrew, well, no, from Aramaic. That it was transferred from Aramaic into Latin, because when it was transferred from Latin to Greek, there was a lot of misspelling
and they have different pronunciation.
A lot of pronunciation, and a lot of things were different, because in some of the scriptures, they talk about the prophets prophesizing about things that are happening now in the world. They talk about, and it's not about the devil, it's not about Satan, it's about technology, it's about man, it's about how we are destroying ourselves and how we're going to continue to destroy ourselves. Revelation alone is all about politics, the prostitution of the world. It's the prostitution of nations. We are the biggest pimps. We prostitute ourselves, or should I say our government prostitutes itself to other countries. How many countries own parts in the United States? There's more countries that own United States than United States itself. Yeah. How much human trafficking goes on in the United States every day? And you can't tell me that they can find the terrorists, but they can't find a little girl that's being trafficked, or a little boy or a woman, and they can't find them. They can find them. The only thing is, then most likely they're not white, and most likely they don't have money. Because it's about economical situations as well. So I'm not trying to jump, because I know that you asked specifically certain questions, but this coincides with each other, because in the Bible, and if you really read the Bible, it wasn't until the King James Bible that you can start to read and you can start to see how women were degraded, how women were being put down. Are you there? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
So anyway, so when the King James Bible was written, they basically started to call women wenches and stuff, and then they, so that is one section. Now you have the, which I always tell you, the Quran, which is a great book, which I love. And the Quran, in the Quran, there's a chapter in the Quran that deals with women, and women are considered being the orphans of the world, because once a woman leaves her home, she becomes independent. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's there to listen to her husband, help her husband's family, her children, but who helps her? So they are considered the orphans of the world. And in the Quran, women are supposed to walk hand in hand to their husbands, side by side, not women in the back. So those women who wear the hijab, that cover their face, all of their face, that is not in the Quran. So those are extremists that want their women to be covered completely and not be seen and not be touched and whatever. Now the Jews are the same way. The Jews have their ways, and women Jews cannot shake hands with men. And the Hasidics, the women, they use wigs and so forth and so forth. So religion has downplayed women for a long time. And at the end of the day, behind every good man, there's a great woman. So people don't realize that women are the ones who have helped build strong men in order to build this planet. So although women are ostracized for what they are, it's running in fear, because if you go back to the 1700s, 1600s, 1800s, men who were aristocrats, who had no money, who were broke ass, marry women who were daughters of dukes and princes and whatever. And unfortunately, the government made it very clear that when a woman marries, her money became the man's money.
Right.
Okay, so that was even in the beginning of time in the Bible, in before Christianity was Christianity, before the Jews were Jews, before the Muslims were Muslims. You know what I'm saying? It was always like a dowry. Parents had to pay the man a dowry to marry them. Do you believe that? Yes. So at the end of the day, this is an old story of women that are very powerful, because you guys are very powerful, and in society, and men always wanting attention from every walks of life. They want attention when it comes to religion. They want to seem like they're the big, the cat's meow. And unfortunately, that's a very ignorant way to think about it, because Ifa is such a beautiful religion. And unfortunately, because of the fact that women of color that try to dominate Ifa by saying, well, I went to Africa and I got this and I'm a Babalocha and now I can do this. No, you cannot. Okay, you may know how to read the shells, but I believe that every woman should learn to read shells. I believe that a woman should know how to divine. But as far as Ifa, I don't trust a person or any woman or man that has only been in Ifa for a year or 2 years, and they have learned or they have picked up things here and there. Just because you went to Africa, it's like saying I went to the North Pole and I became Santa Claus. It's not the same. So that's my personal take on how I feel about women. But do I believe that women have always been seers and diviners? Yes, of course. But you know what? A lot of women are becoming like men in religion. In this religion, a lot of women are becoming very greedy. And they're seeing that there's money to be made, because the Yoruba religion used to be a secret society. So the Yoruba religion is a very, very wealthy religion. My grandmother said that the Santeria was like a millionaire's religion, that everything was expensive. And trust me, you know me, Sess, and you know all the Orishas. And I definitely have way more than $300,000 worth of Orishas that I have received. And I don't look back at it because it's just for my benefit. But the reality is that, a lot of my Orishas were born by a woman's Orisha, my godmother. And she was the daughter of Shango. And she had incredible Ache. I have more goddaughters than I do godsons. And they're very powerful and they're very amazing. But at the same time, what you find in this religion is that there are women who half step. Either they jump into either they want to be in it or they don't want to be in it. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to be in Ifa, that doesn't mean that you have to be a Petebi, because technically Petebis of Ifa are daughters of Ochun. But nowadays, they're using Petebis to be children of Yemaya. Daughters of Yemaya were never Petebis. Daughters of Oya were never Petebis. Daughters of Obatala were never Petebis. So I don't understand where they're getting their, well, they're Petebis. Daughters of Ochun were the ones that were Petebis. Now, like I said, there are a lot of religious men and a lot of religious women in this sector of Ifa who love and who believe really strongly about Ifa and Ifa's teachings. But if you put together the I Ching that has been around for thousands of years, and you put together the book of Ifa is exactly the same. You ever looked at the I Ching? How it's lines, circles, lines. It's the same
I read
thing.
that very well.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as Ifa.
Really?
Yes, it's no different. No different.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Told me
If you know the I Ching and you know how to read the I Ching, you know how to read the numbers in Ifa.
Okay, we'll talk about the. Oh, yeah, there's
Right.
something to talk about. Yeah, but there's different similarities.
There's certain similarities in many ways, because remember, according to history, the elders that wrote Ifa, that taught Ifa and wrote Ifa, taught Ifa, people wrote it and recorded it like record. They didn't know how to write and read. They were being directed by spirit alone. Okay. And that is why, if you really think about it, right, a lot of Africans can relate to Chinese. Yeah, they can relate to Chinese. They can relate to the royalty. You know, when they had the black powder, which is gunpowder, right? Who did the Chinese give it to first? You know, did they give it to the British or did they give it to the Africans? Give it to the Africans first. Africans used it for many things, to cure, you know, to do many, many, many things. So there's just a lot of different things that are going on. But like I said, listen, I don't, unless a woman, and this is what I'm going to tell you so that you understand. Every person that is a babalao or babalocha, like I said, there's only been one that she has been all over the world, and she belongs to I belong to the Yoruba Society in Cuba, and I also belong to the Yoruba Society in Washington. So she goes to Washington a lot, but she has credentials. So if these women or women that you have known that have supposedly that are priests or they're babalochas or they you know they're doing Ifa, most of them were initiated in Spanish houses. They weren't initiated in African houses. They were initiated in Spanish houses, which is called Lukumi. So Lukumi and Santeria is the same thing. Santeria and Yoruba priests are the same exact thing. They just have different names. And
say that again. Lukumi and Santeria.
Lukumi is through Lukumi is they're Spanish houses. That's all it is. Lukumi is Spanish houses.
I know that. What the heck? Oh, okay, that's you.
That's my phone. Some people call. They wait. They have all day to call me, and then they wait until 10 o'clock at night to want to talk.
Okay.
So anyway,
Lukumi and Santeria are the same as say that again.
Okay. Lukumi is what Ifa is, or let's say Santeria is Lukumi, and it was Lukumi because that's what the Spanish houses are, Lukumi houses. It doesn't mean that we brush ourselves off from Africa. We don't. We just consider our religion to be Afro-Cuban or Afro-Hispanic. So the great majority, I would say 83 to 84% of American Black people who have gotten initiated in the United States have gotten initiated by Lukumi. Okay, and even if they're blacks that got initiated by other blacks, whether they were from the Bronx, from New York, from wherever, 99% of the time, those people were either initiated in New York or in Miami or in Cuba, and then their grandparent or their godparents were crowned. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter how far back, how far ahead you go, you were still initiated in an Ifa house, but it was a Lukumi house. Okay. Now, most Hispanic houses, not all, there's a great deal that don't, but I would say most, and when I say most, I would say 70%. 70% of Yoruba houses do not deal with babalaos.
Okay.
They don't mark their children with babalaos. because I can give you an example. There's many houses where people have gotten they have gotten their guardian angel brought down by babalaos when they receive mano de orula and babala, and then all of a sudden they say, well, you're gonna crown Ochun, and then like let's say a month later they fight with the godparents, and they leave that house and they go to another house. They bring their guardian angel down, and then the guardian angel says, "Is Yemaya." You understand? So that is why the priests and priestesses that read and divine mark their godchildren with their own guardian angel, because who better than to mark your crown than the orisha you're going to be born from?
Okay.
And just remember the political thing that goes on in this religion with women and with gays. It's systematic, because in the books of Ifa, there were many times where Orunmila was being chased. There were times that they almost killed him, and he always landed up in the land of the gays, and the gays were the ones who actually built him up and made him strong again. So he made it very clear that we are not supposed to be ignored, and we can receive, just like women, we can receive many secrets from a babalao. One thing we can't receive is, we can't become babalaos according to them. But there's a secret. There in the scriptures of Ifa, it tells you that every 7 years there is a gay person that escapes and becomes a babalao. Okay. So the dynamic is kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? Because Orunmila was like Chango. Don't think that Orunmila was a saint. Orunmila, had a lot of women and did a lot of stuff. So when people see Orunmila, they say, oh, well, St. Francis de Assisi. Well, St. Francis de Assisi was rich and he gave up his money to be in the order. So it's very different. You can't compare the both. You're synchronizing Catholicism with but my advice, like I said, my advice to people is this. I know that it takes women. I know that the women can receive many powers, but unless you have a card that tells me that you are part of the association of the Yoruba faith, you're not doing shit.
Okay.
So you have to learn that.
Okay. So, but let's get back. So it's not only that, like you said, the Jews, but also the Mormon Church does the same thing. Women, you don't see any women in their pulpit speaking.
No,
they don't have a position. Like the men become elders. The women are sisters. So I'm trying to, like I said, put this out there and let people know. Even in the Catholic Church, there were some women that got the cloth to be clergy, but they're not recognized in some instances. They're still not a priest. That's what I'm saying. So I wanted where they coming from. When you see women in the church, Mary is Jesus's mother. Martha, you know what I mean? These are women in the Bible. So,
but Mary, let me tell you something. Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, Mary, his cousin, Martha, his cousin, right? They are recognized. Okay, they are recognized. Mother Mary is Queen Mother of all. She's the Queen Mother. So when they say pray, they're not always telling you pray our Father who art in heaven. They're telling you, when they tell you do the rosary, they're telling you pray to her, the woman, the mother. Mother Teresa was very faithful at praying to Mother Mary, and she did the rosary 5 times a day. She believed. You know, I've seen apparitions of her in many, 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 many times and many places, and she always makes me emotional because I can feel her presence and then see the light behind her. But the Bible original, let's just say original, okay? Originally, the Bible and the Quran and the Torah, they said the same exact thing. But of course, people make things convenient for themselves, and whoever says that they didn't erase things, they lie. The Jews use a stick to read the Torah because they say that the words that are written in the Torah will burn you. They burn you on fire. Really? Really? That's the most ridiculous thing that I ever heard. And those ridiculous hats that they wear, they look like a donut. That's another ridiculous thing. I don't know what they use it for, but they say it's like something to do with the Egyptian, the Jews that are kept in bondage or whatever. But they forget that they weren't Jews. They were black. They were Africans. So anyway, now the Muslims in the Quran speaks about Christ. It talks about Christ being a teacher, prophet, but they also talk about his mother. They talk about Mary, but they don't call her Mary. They call her something else, but it means Mary. And the Quran does speak about her and how powerful and how wonderful and how nurturing and how strong. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So there are religion, Buddhism, believe it or not, Hinduism. They show, if you notice some pictures, they show women showing their breasts, and they show little kids suckling on the mother's breast, and that's because they depict Mother Mary as well. It's not a Catholic thing. Remember, when Jesus died, Jesus was not a Christian, and nobody was a Christian. They didn't become a Christian until like 100 years later. So
Right.
the bottom line is that the problem they have with you and the same problem they have with us that are gay. Gay people are considered being two-spirit. We can channel women and we can channel men. Men can only channel men. So we have the ability to channel both sexes through our bodies, and we're able to see. We are an oddity. We used to be an oddity. There wasn't so many. But at the end of the day, the Cherokee Nation and other nations used to marry two men. They believed in same-sex marriage back then.
Mhm.
So, all of this is brought down through Christianity. All this hatred, all this non-belief, all this ignorance about people's happiness, that is a form of control. They've always used it, they've always had it, and they will continue to have it. And that's basically it. I mean, they don't want, the babalaos don't get so chummy with women unless they're sleeping with them. But at the end of the day, what their motivating forces for pushing women aside is fear.
Mhm.
It's fear, and that's the one thing that women need to understand, that people may think. Irene,
Religion,
go ahead. Hold on a second.
religion is a man-made system that lost its true purpose. Religion should be a tool to get people to connect with the divine within. Most times, religions are used as a form of way to control people.
I agree. I agree. I believe that religion should be a doctrine to unite, not to separate. And it should be. Jesus didn't teach in a pulpit. He didn't teach in a building, and neither did Muhammad. So the bottom line is that these people that taught outside, you know, people say that they're following the life of Christ. Not when you got a mega church and live in a house that's worth $130 million. You're not.
You're right.
Okay. And as far as controlled religion, like what do you call it, evangelist. I'm not a follower of evangelist people. I think they're scary as hell. They're like Hitler. And they are. They are. Jehovah's Witness, the same thing. They're like Hitler. I don't believe in these. Yes, Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, they're all like, yeah. To me, they're a cult. I'm saying the Catholic Church is any different. I'm just saying that these are people like cults, because like they said, yeah, nah, people forget Buddha was not a Buddhist. Buddha was a teacher. Buddha didn't teach religion. He taught philosophy. Christ was not a Christian. He taught philosophy.
Right.
He taught to love one another. That's all he taught. He didn't teach anything else except love. And he made it very clear that women were men's equals. Women were not under men. They were equals. But see, again, everything was lost in translation. And like the person said, it is about control. It is about control. So now, when people are starting to get more involved in spirituality, getting to know their inner self, getting to know their spirit, getting to connect with spirit. Why? Because the church has let them down. The church has showed them their ass to kiss. And people are tired and they say, you know what? If I want to talk to Jesus, I'm going to sit down with some friends and we're going to talk about Jesus outside, having a few cocktails. Hey, Jesus didn't say you can drink.
Where did that come from?
What do you mean?
Like a lot of stuff like promiscuous.
Well, look, people think that Jesus did not have sex. That's not true.
I don't think that.
That's
he
not
had children
true.
too. He was married, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And people believe, the people forget, or people forget, or they don't really know. Then the doctrine, Jesus's job was to connect. Job was to bring together all of the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation, what is it? That we are, Anakasti, whatever. What is that part of Jewish? That we are all.
Philistines.
No. There's a part of Jewish that we are. The Philistines was what it was before they were Jews. They were called the Philistines.
She said Gentile.
No, that in 23andMe it says that of what we are. But anyway, Jewish blood runs in our veins, all of us, and that's because we were one of the people that came from the time that the Jews left Israel. That some of the Jews pushed them out, and they left Israel, and they ended up in Spain. And it's been proven, and they have so many things, and they had proof that Jesus was in Spain, and he went to Spain, and they had proof that Mary Magdalene and her children went to Spain, and she raised her children in Spain, and later on in France. And basically, she what do you call it? There were many churches. There were churches of Mary Magdalene, and people, and the Catholic Church took them down. Okay, because they taught the doctrines according to women.
Okay.
The women were present with Christ.
Okay, we got one question. Somebody got their hand up.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on. Gotta switch over. What's the question? Good evening. How are you? You can be heard, but you're going in and out. It's kind of scraggly. Okay, that's better. Don't move.
Talking about the children.
What? Hello.
Oh, and that's where the Rose of Sharon comes from, and that's also supposed to be where the I forgot the name of that organization. I just lost it. Something about the rose. The Legends and all that. Suppose that came. It's an off draft of.
Well, I didn't hear.
Good movie to watch.
I didn't hear anything.
It's the Da Vinci Code, but also what I really wanted to say was.
I'm back.
I couldn't hear anything, so I didn't even know what that was about.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Call me back.
Blog Talk Radio.
Shoot. All right. No, my whole internet went out. It just went completely out. Do you hear me?
Go ahead,
Hello?
swing your head back and forth.
No, I'm not gonna swing my head back and forth, smarty pants. My whole thing.
Look, there are many things that came about before the Templars. There was other organizations before Templars, and if you watch the movie Agora, you would see when Christianity was first starting, they were more violent, and there were organizations that were started, and you have the rose. What is it? What is it? Well, you have the Masons, you have the Rose. The Rose something. It's an organization that deals with magic.
Okay.
There are a lot of different orders that deal with magic, and the Illuminati there were Templars, and then there were the Illuminatis, but they were Templars too. They were just a different sector of Templars. And if you watch the movie, is it Heaven on Earth or something like that, or something about? It's a movie I just saw about the war between the Holy War, and basically it describes, and you can tell that there were Templars, and then there were others that were like Templars that were actually killing in the name of the church. But it wasn't in the name of the church. It was in the name of the people who were there, who were bishops or whatever that had power.
Okay.
Now, right now in the world, there are 43 different orders.
Okay.
43 orders that are not even together with the orders that we know, the Rosicrucian orders, the Masons, the Irish Rites and whatever. They're not even have nothing to do with that. They're totally different, and they're societies that have been created by people that have money and people that are of European descent.
Right.
And there are orders that even Jews have, because people don't realize that Jewish people, you have the Jews that are Hasidic, but you also have Jews that are Hasidics that are mafia Jews. that are Hasidic, that they will kill you and kill your family because that is what they're bred to do. And that is why the Day of Atonement, which to me is a bunch of bullshit, the Day of Atonement is the only day that they have where they go to the temple and they're asking for forgiveness for what? So then the next day they can go and do the same shit over again.
Right.
I don't get that. I don't get that. Mercy has to come from in your heart. Love and understanding has to come from the heart. It can't come from a book. It can't come from a teaching that's crooked. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You heard it. The caller was saying that the inference is accurate was touched on in Da Vinci. What you're saying?
Yes.
So, but
the
go.
reality is
We're getting off topic. We're talking about the women
we're not going out of topic. If we want to know, we got to go back to the beginning, and you go from the beginning so that you can have a better understanding. Okay. Now, what I can tell you is that the same way that the Israelites or whatever, the Philistines, a lot of people don't know that the Jews and the Muslims were actual cousins. They're actually related. The Muslims and the Jews are related. The ones from Iran and all that stuff, they're related. They're cousins. But yet the Jews won't say that because there's too many Jews that come from the United States and other countries that are white Jews that have money, and they will not say that they're mixed. But in reality, all the original Jews were African, which we have always touched on that. Now, all of this stuff could have changed many, many, many times. But you know what? The fact of women having power scares religious people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there are women who are ministers in Trinity churches, in Baptist churches. They're ministers, and their congregations are huge.
Right.
Why? When Jesus chose his disciples in the beginning, who did he choose? He chose thieves and fishermen and women. Mary Magdalene, that supposedly was a whore, which it's wrong. Mary Magdalene was not a whore. Mary Magdalene was rich. She was born wealthy. She was married. Her husband died, and she was having sex. She was with someone else, and that was considered being a loose woman, but it wasn't like that. And at the end of the day, they changed the story. They changed the story around. So then she became the hoe. Okay. One of Jesus' disciples, I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember if it was one of the Peters. One of the Peters was a prostitute, a male prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
So did Jesus discriminate against gay people? No. I believe, and I always say this, if a man is secure with his sexuality, he has no reason to judge anybody else's sexuality at all. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And there's room for everyone. Just like there's money for everyone in the world, there's money for everybody to be made. There is room for a religious sanction for every person. To say that a female doesn't belong in Ifa and she's not supposed to do this and do that, well, then what? You know what? Then what the hell are you doing being a petebi for these babalaos? If you can't go in the room and you can't do stuff in that room and you're not supposed to get stuff, which it doesn't say that, because it says you should be able to receive many powers except one, Olofi. So why do they keep you limited? Because they want you as housewives, and they want to follow, like they want to follow their lives and live their lives as the kings used to in the old days in Africa, and they want to do it like the Muslims did. They want to have more than one wife, and they want to be able to control and have a harem, which, like I said, you can't have a harem if you're on heroin. Yeah.
You're funny.
No, it's the truth. You can't
I know.
that, because you know what? There's so many babalaos that have been arrested for dealing drugs and having drugs inside the orishas. You know what? I've been crowned for so many years, and at the end of the day, the thought of even having drugs in my house makes me sick. The thought that I can find something that I did not put inside my orishas will make me sick. So at the end of the day, the questions that you ask about homosexuality or whatever, we have a place in this. The problem is they don't, because we have allowed them along the years. Babalaos were starving. Babalaos were not. They were starving. They were starving. Nobody was using them. Mm-hmm. It was the Iyas that said, let's give some of this work to them so we can all prosper together. These are the Iya, the elder mothers. Okay. And then all of a sudden they started to eat. But you know what happens, right? When you eat, right?
You get greedy.
You get greedy and you want the cheddar and you keep charging. So now you go to a place in Cuba and I tell them straight to their face, look, with all due respect, I love Orula. I just don't trust you guys at all. Because I know the Odus for Orula. I know the Oduns, and I know the Oduns for shell reading. So it's the same Oduns. They just call it a different thing. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me, this letter comes out, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. No, that's not what it says. it says good. You understand? So at the end of the day, that's also what's happening with women. Women are starting to educate themselves. And they're starting to learn Oduns. And I think every woman should learn Oduns. You should learn the shells to know what each number means. Because the same shell reading that you get is the same letters that they're getting and they're telling you. So if you come out with Odi Obara is 7-6, they add something else to Obara, like longer. And then OD, they add something else to OD too. Dude, it's Obara OD. Stop. That's all it is. You're adding more words to it, but it's only Obara OD. And it's the same meaning as the other ones was. Okay? Babalaos are now going to masses. Babalaos are not supposed to be in masses, but yet they go. Why? Really? Because they're gossipy and they want to know what other people are saying about them or whatever spirit is telling them. They want to know. Yeah. Believe me, a lot of them are going there. A lot of them are into Palo, which is fine, and they try to convince their godchildren you can't get read by anybody else. Said who?
Yes, that's true. That does happen.
Said who? Now, if you want to see how great and important Ifa is, it's very important. It's a way of life. But why do Babalaos have to read themselves every single day? Every day. They have to read themselves.
I'm glad I'm not one.
Okay. So if you're a child of Orumila and you receive Ifa, why you got to read yourself every day? You're supposed to be dealing with a supreme being. Why do you got to read yourself every day? Why doesn't he tell you? Because I know I've been to many Babalao's house where I can tell you straight out. I've told them, I think that you need to take care of Orula with this. Then they look at me. How do you know? I said, because I hear it. And then when they ask Orula and wherever, they're like, you know what? You were absolutely right. I know I'm right. I don't have to be corrected. I know what I know. And that's reality. And I'm not trying to show off. I know what I know and I know what I hear. And Orula is Orula and all the Orishas, all they are are elevated spirits. That's all they are. They're not gods. They're not deities. They are people who were crowned or they were initiated in this religion who have died, and then they're elevated. So we become a little bit more elevated. So the more we educate ourselves, when we die, we cross, someone will inherit our energy. Okay? Now, again, in Ifa, they're supposed to take the time to teach you. But a lot of them don't want to teach you. A lot of Cubans come from Cuba and they're babalaos and they're young and they don't want to deal with homosexuals because they're like, oh, because that's against our religion. No, it's not against the religion. And if you really, really were a babalao, you would understand that if the Orula said that you cannot discriminate against gay people and that we are allowed to receive things. Okay? And women are precious. So why do you keep them as slaves? Orula didn't say that they have to be your slave. Orula said, help them and they will help you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people don't realize that, this has become a money market. A money market, and they make it seem like everything has to be received by them. There are some houses that will not give warriors because they give warriors through Ifa, right? But guess what? Ifa doesn't give you beads. You don't get Orula. When you receive Orula, when you receive Orula, you receive Elegua, you receive Ogun, you can't receive beads. They can't give you beads.
Right.
They can't. They can't give you beads. When you do Ocha, when you're in the Ocha room, they can't even come into the room. They cannot.
Whoa.
They're not supposed to even be in that room.
Dang.
So any woman who calls herself a babalocha, who's giving Ifa, who says that she's an Ifa priest, is guess what? You can't even crown. So if you crowning, then you're a sucker duck. Because at the end of the day, you're doing everything that's against the rules.
Oh my gosh.
So they're becoming just as shady as the men.
Oh my gosh.
So at the end of the day, to make a long story short, I know I went around the world, but that's my bipolar. At the end of the day, let's be real. The only things that have occurred with women is organized religion. That's the only thing that's happened. Before religion was organized, women were looked at as goddesses.
Right.
And you still are. You still are. The only problem is you don't even realize it. A lot of women don't realize that you don't need to sit in front of Orula to be sanctified. If you believe that you are a true spiritual being sent by God, all you have to do is just sit down. When you squat over your Ogun, when you're not in your cycle, and you blow smoke to Ogun, like with the cigar inside Ogun, and the smoke is coming up, you squat over it with your skirt. Let the smoke come up. And ask Ogun to clean you, to help you, to guide you, and to give you strength. When you talk to Elegba, Elegba will do many things for women. It will help women. The Orishas are more determined to help women.
I'm sorry.
Elegba opens the path. He's the Prince of Roads. He opens and closes them.
Yes,
and he's the one who protects the children, and he's the one who protects people. But you know what? Even the Elegba that they give you. Okay, I got 2 Elegwas that were given to me by Babalaos, but only because I asked for them. Not because I needed them. I asked them. I said, I want you to create this Elegua for me, and I want you to make this Elegua for me. And they made it for me. And they were like, well, why did you want this stuff? We still have to ask. I said, you don't have to ask. We do have to ask if we're going to feed it. I said, okay, that's the deal. Ask. But I don't know what you're asking for because it's mine. And when they ask, everything comes out Alafia. Of course it's Alafia. I wouldn't ask for something that I don't know. Come on, really? So it says, look, the bottom line is this. You have so much knowledge, Dr. D. You have knowledge of many things, and you have been disappointed with many things that have to do with religion. And you have been let down by people that you have called Ia, mother, whatever. You have been ostracized, criticized, judged, pushed aside, trampled on. Oh, yeah. Because you know what? Because I want people to know, the ones that hear you, the ones that hear and don't show that they hear, but they're here, they're listening. I want them to understand that I've been in your life for more than 20 something years and I ain't going nowhere no time soon. And I got your back 100%. Okay, so I'm not looking at color. I don't care what color you are. You can be purple for all I care. But don't declare, don't declare war on people that I love, because you declare war, they don't have to take care of it. I'll take care of it. It's simple, darling. It's simple magic. At the end of the day, you got to believe in what you believe in. And if you love people, because it's all about love and protecting the people you love, then that's what it's about. When you use the religion to be stingy, to be cheap, to not want to help people, to use them, take their money, and make them believe that something tragic is going to happen when it really is not going to happen, or you have the ability to see something that's tragic is coming and you don't warn them about it because you figure, well, if she gave me $50 more, I'll tell her. No, then you know what? That is foul. That's foul. That is foul. No tea, no shade. It's reality. Okay, it's reality. And that's why I tell people when people try to come for me, I'm like, come for me. Because if you're gonna come for me, knock on my door, you're gonna find something you're gonna really like. Okay, I don't have time to be playing games. I'm a nicely nice until you push that button, and then you know I'm like Satan. You do not want to do that. That's the wrong thing to do. Best thing to do is knock on my door early in the morning when I wake up before I take my medication. Then the party's on. Then the party's on because
oh my gosh,
you know it's true. Look, I don't hide anything, you know. And part of spiritual people, most spiritual people are kind of jacked up mentally, especially people like me that channel spirits. You know, it is sometimes channeling 10 spirits, 11 spirits that come in and out of your body and talk to people. That's a lot of energy. And what about people like the last mass that I was invited to, for me to work it, me. Mm-hmm. Okay, she was like, oh, just, you know, my family's gonna be there. Okay, family. There were 17 people in the mass, 17, and I worked the mass. So at the end of the day, when it was over and done with, I just wanted to collapse. Because I don't even know how many spirits came down and how many people talked. All I know was that when I sat there, all I kept seeing were the shadow people that come from the shadows. And then I saw these people walking on the floor that look like skinny people, very long, and they walk like if they were roaches, like they walk, their hands up. They just slide on the floor, and those are low-lying spirits. So when I started the mass, I had to make a circle. I had to make a circle with salt, and I had to make a circle with charcoal, and I had to make a circle with sand, and then put the candle in the center. And it was cold, and all of a sudden the weather got warm, and the candle stopped flickering. The minute the mass was over, the candle just blew out. Poof. But see, I know what I'm doing, and I know what I have to do. I'm not trying to judge anybody's religion, but when you're gonna do raggedy shit, I have to bring it. I have to tell you about yourself, because just remember what I said. Heed these words. Anybody who's listening, heed these words. Unless the Babalao, every Babalao that joins, male or female, they always join the Yoruba Association. All of them. Mm-hmm. And those who don't have the ones from Cuba that come here from Cuba usually belong to the one in Cuba. I belong to both. I belong to the one in Cuba, which I have my ID in my strong box, my ID from Cuba, and I have my ID from Washington. So I am considered an elder, so I have my credentials. A lot of these people don't have credentials. I don't want to be known as Ifa. No, I'm known as an elder, a Yoruba practitioner, and I am an elder. Where there are people who are, I am, an elder in Ifa. So that means they're babalaos. I don't want to be a babalao. For what? For what? Half of them don't even, once you give yourself to whoever it is that you're giving yourself up to, let's just leave it like that.
Okay.
Once you give yourself up to whoever you're giving yourself up to and you become a babalao, you have a responsibility, and your responsibility is to learn, because that's what Orula expects of you, to learn and learn and learn and learn. And Ifa is a philosophy, just like the Bible, just like the Quran, just like the Torah, just like the Bhagavad Gita, just like the what are the elements, the 4 elements, the 5 elements. And in the Buddhist book, there's the 5 precepts.
Okay.
There's the 5 precepts and there's Bhagavad Gita. So basically, it's about learning. And that's the fear they have of women. They want to keep women down.
Right.
They want to keep women ignorant. They want to keep women ignorant. They don't want to teach you. Ignorant.
Stop. I need to stop. I got 2 in here, okay? 2 of y'all. I can't do 2 of y'all at the same time.
But it's true. They want to keep you ignorant. They want you to believe. If you tell them, look, if you give a babalao an apple, a woman goes and gives them an apple, the babalao's gonna throw it out. He ain't gonna eat it.
Wow. But we've been on here an hour and 20 minutes, so it must have been good conversation. Even though we started late.
Well, let me tell you something. I know I ran like the song, been around the world and yeah.
Baby.
I don't know why.
Lisa Stanfield, right? But you know what? Yes, I've been around the world, but I had to bring it up. I had to school from the beginning of where all of this began. Because if you really think about when you really think about like the Egyptians and the Africans or whatever, even in Africa, they used to snip the balls.
Who? Say what? Wait a minute. Now you got my attention. They did who?
Even in Africa, they used to have those men. What do you call those men?
Enoch.
Yeah. They had them. They've been around for the longest time, and they were used as a stick pin thing. Oh, look at the little baby.
Say hi.
Hello. Hi.
Say hi.
Hi.
See somebody else.
Hello.
So cute. Say I babysit. What babysit?
So anyway, this whole baloney stuff about homosexuals against religions or whatever. Look, Arabs still have dancing boys. Muslims still have dancing boys, and the church some churches still molest boys and girls. It's been around. It's around, and Ifa too. Don't think that it doesn't happen, because in Cuba there's been many cases where they say, oh, in the old days, to do an ebo, right? To do an ebo on a young girl, you're supposed to do an ebo by licking her.
I'm sorry.
Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at the baby and I'm laughing at you.
You said by licking her.
Yeah. That's an ebo to do. The babalaos were supposed to be, they would lick you, and this in Africa, young girl, yes, lick you with their tongue. They would lick your body and lick your privates in order to remove the negativity that you had on you. but that was written many moons ago. Okay,
That's
and
nasty.
there's been babalaos in Cuba and in Panama and in Venezuela and all this stuff that have done the same thing. Also, babalaos that are bisexual that will tell a straight man that they like, well, the spirit is in you, and in order for me to get it, in order for it to come out, you have to me, and
What?
yes, yes,
Oh
yes.
my God. You,
Okay, so honey, I can tell you some stories that will blow your mind, but at the end of
I
the
think we're
day,
gonna have to do that next Monday.
That's what
well, no, I ain't gonna blow nobody's mind. Let's pick another topic because this topic of babalaos, I'm so sick of these people. I'm so sick of them, and I'm even more sick of the women who try to be babalochas, and yet they don't even have the credentials for it.
Mm,
Because if you are babalocha, you're a good teacher, and you're a good honorable person, your life should be going good. Your lights should never be turned off.
right,
You shouldn't have money problems.
right.
Not because you're overcharging, but you shouldn't have problems.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, are we off or
We're almost off. Well, we can go off now.
you need to
We
go
got
commercial? You need to do a commercial. You haven't done a commercial.
I don't have the. I'm
Oh,
not
okay,
on.
so never mind. So how do we get off? Are we off already? Did it shut off?
No, I have to push the end. Then it go bye bye. But ladies and gentlemen, tune
It's
in
been very
tomorrow.
nice.
And it's been Coffee with Ori on Monday. And I will see you guys. Probably we're gonna do it at 6 o'clock. I like it early so I can get done early. It accomplishes so much. So I will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Ceci, and then Wednesday the cooking show. So
Okay, and for you and for the people that call in and know that I have the show on Monday, like I've said in the past, and so has Dr. D. Find a topic you want to talk about it. I will discuss it. I don't have a problem.
yes,
I don't have a problem discussing it, and you can't be afraid to discuss something that's on your mind because even though I am an elder, I'm not going to judge you because everyone has an opinion.
there you go. All
Okay.
right.
Well,
Say bye.
love and
Say
light to all. So,
bye.
bye.